Today I wanted to talk about a notorious Twitter/social media user, Libs of Tik Tok. Wikipedia defines the account as being far-right, anti-LGBT, and disinformation Twitter account, which is interesting to me because when you actually go through the account, yes, there are a couple tweets that lean conservative, and I'm not denying that this person is a conservative. However, they're not disinforming anyone. All of their media is quite simply just reposting what libs say with very little commentary, and then you come to your own conclusions. And something that interests me about this is a lot of these people are just obviously incorrect. They're obviously someone who is embarrassing to the leftist ideology. They are the extreme, and so therefore it's fine when they're in their echo chambers, but when you take that out, it immediately becomes apparent this is a bad idea and it looks bad for the ideology. And so Libs of Tik Tok, it is a right-leaning conservative account, yes, but all they're doing is showing the left as what they are. And that's something that very much interests me because I am a leftist. That's kind of what radical feminism is. It's a leftist ideology. It's just I'm not taking it to this weird postmodernist extreme as many of them are. And so we're going to go through a couple of TikToks from their Twitter today just to see exactly what they're posting and to see why people are so against their channel or account.
Day 12 of being a girl, and we're going to go buy tampons.
So already, as you can see, this person is kind of copying Dylan Mullaney's videos with the day whatever, being a girl. I think it's kind of interesting that it's spreading in this direction because there's plenty of people who kind of copy other people who've already, done something. Like there's a million white trans women on YouTube who do commentary on quote unquote philosophy and politics, and they all kind of look and act the same. But I've yet to see anyone take the same exact approach as Dylan with the day whatever of girlhood. So this is the first.
Let's go.
Where are they even at?
What the?
I feel like he's trying to think this is like comedy of some sort. Like it's funny that he doesn't know how this works. What is a diva cup? What are tampons? And I just don't find this amusing or funny at all. First off, I'm not saying that all guys are going to know exactly how menstrual products work, but you could pretty much assume that men know that tampons go in and pads go on underwear and they don't really look much further. It's not their business, so why should they learn about this? Women, yeah, you kind of figure out what these things are as you start to menstruate because you have to. These are things that we actively have to use as a result of menstruation, which is what happens for a couple days out of the month, for every month out of the year, for a good 40 to 50 years of your life. I just don't think it's funny to make this out like a discovery into undiscovered lands when it's just you're going into the feminine products aisle at Target and then making a fool of yourself.
I don't know, which one should I get?
Got the Tampax Pearl. I think these are like little dots to see how much you flow is what somebody said online. I don't know, let's do an unboxing.
It's the commercialism of womanhood for me. It's the opening a box of tampons into an unboxing like it's a product to review, instead of a necessity that is overtaxed because of the pink tax that you have to spend so much money on that can harm you in so many ways. We have so many issues with periods that feminists are still fighting for. We still have period huts in Nepal and in many parts of the world. Feminine products are a hard thing to afford for many people under the poverty line, and here you are buying a box to make fun of and to pretend it's some kind of toy. I just find this so insulting that you think this is funny, and that you think this is womanhood is what? Buying the product that you don't even need to use?
It literally has instructions. Okay, this is a tampon. This thing does not go up inside you. Like, where does that go?
Well, since you don't have a vagina or you don't menstruate, it goes nowhere in you. I mean, unless you want to try up your asshole like some people have done. I think in my AGP video I went over that, how some trans women fetishize having a period. So if that's the route you want to take.
Oh my god, what the hell? Okay, so it says you push the plunger up and out comes the baby. Kidding. That just hangs out inside you? How do you get it out? Is that what this thing's for? Oh, it comes open. Where does the string go? I bought tampons because I've never bought them before.
Yeah, because you have no use for them and you still don't. What do you buy tampons for if you don't have a fucking period?
If you need one.
And here is how it was presented on the Libs of Tik Tok Twitter. Biological male who went viral this year for attempting to join a sorority is now learning from Mulvaney, and creating TikToks making a mockery of women. I don't see how this is disinformation. This is an accurate depiction of what happened in this TikTok. This man went into Target, bought tampons, made fun of himself for not knowing how to use it, and thought that was comedy. And that's what they described. I don't see how this is misinformation at all, or anti-LGBT. This is just anti-misogyny.
For all of your love and care on my last post, here's my update. Sorry for the delay. My life is chaos on how I clicker trained my family to get my correct pronouns now that I am a trans person.
It's interesting to me because clicker training is what you use to train a dog, and somehow using a clicker to train your family is not seen as dehumanizing, even though using sex-accurate pronouns is somehow dehumanizing. And it's dehumanizing to call you female despite you being female, but it's not dehumanizing to treat your family like dogs for not following your whims. Okay, I see.
So first of all, a lot of people are asking what treat I was using. If you don't know, for circus dogs, when they do something that we like, we click that behavior and then we give them a treat. I did not use it as a positive marker like that for my family because I'm not going to treat them for basic human decency.
So basic human decency is typically defined as one of honesty, good manners, and respect for other people. Typically, decency today is referred to as a strong sense of right and wrong and a high standard of honesty. So, in other words, treating other people like human beings and being kind and showing respect, which you're not doing to your own family by treating them like animals by using a clicker on them to train them. I understand a disagreement in pronouns, but to be honest, it's not just a pronoun issue. It's not just the issue of I want to be called the way I want to be called. It's you're demanding people to view you the way that you are viewed, despite you viewing yourself through a distorted lens. It is you trying to make the whole world see you through the way that you see yourself, a lens which is inherently incorrect because, again, biological sex is immutable and you shouldn't have to change your gender to be able to do whatever you want. You shouldn't have to say, oh, I'm a boy now I can wear pants and wear my hair special. That's not how it should be. That's just going deeper into the same systems that are already oppressing you. And by forcing people to play along, that's oppression. That's you are imposing your will on other people, and you're calling not playing along to your will not being decent, not having human decency.
I instead used it as a negative marker, so every time they said she, I would click so that they would start to associate a click with a she in their head and would start to automatically self-correct. I forgot to take into account the fact that I have an auditory processing disorder and live at like a 15-second delay from everybody and everything else. And so I wasn't able to click as much as I wanted to, so it wasn't super effective on that aspect. I think I'm going to need a new invention that counteracts auditory processing in order to get that right. But I did explain to them what this was for and why I was doing it, and then I carabinered it to my hip at all times. And I definitely had several occasions where a family member would start to say something, look at it, pause, and then purposefully gender me correctly. And that happened at least 3 or 4 times. So it was effective, but not entirely. So there's my update for you.
I don't think this is humorous. I don't think it's funny. I don't think this is something that you should be presenting as an effective way to make people follow your will. It reminds me of this one Reddit story where a trans man wanted her mother to get a tattoo with her dead name covered up completely, which would require basically a blackout tattoo. Now, a blackout tattoo is very painful, and to be honest, I don't think they look very good aesthetically. Typically, it signals that you got a tattoo that you didn't like that was too hard to get rid of and or cover up, and so your only choice was to just black marker or Sharpie it out. And I think that it's really, really self-centered to expect the world to revolve around you, to not even, because it sounds to me like the people in her family are trying. You know, the fact that they actually decided to correct themselves when they saw the carabiner instead of just ignoring it and saying more forcefully she, that shows to me that her family actually was trying to make a difference, but it's not even the effort is good enough for them. It's the compliance. And that's something that I think is a pretty common thing in this community, requiring compliance without question. And if you don't have compliance, well then it's perfectly fine to completely treat you like an animal, completely treat you like you aren't a human being, that you don't deserve decency because you're not offering them compliance.
What's up, y'all? Dr. Purity here, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to decolonize a classroom and how I decolonize my teaching. So, first things first, we do not grade over here, okay? Anyone who takes my class automatically gets an A. They're told in the first week that they're going to get an A. The only thing that's required is attendance, and I have weeks of excused absences built in so that if people are sick or they have family obligations, it won't affect their grade.
So actually, I had a teacher like this last year. He was a math teacher. It was like a theoretical math class. Personally, I hate math, and I have been working 50-hour work weeks since like sophomore year. So what I figured out was he didn't grade on attendance. Attendance is not a graded part of class, and there was no late penalties. So what happened was I just stopped going after like the third week and turned in everything the last week it was due. I did all the work that was due in that class in about a day and a half, turned it all in, and I still managed to get an A. And I didn't come back to that class that entire time. He didn't have a final or anything. There was no obligation to come back. There was no incentive to come back. Well, what I was told by my classmates was that I started a trend, and that after I left, the class attendance went down by a lot. As in, people just did not show up, because why would you show up to a class where you have no obligation to be, when you can just Google the answers and teach yourself the theory online, turn in the results, and then boom, you're fine, you're Gucci. Why would you bother coming into a class that gives you no incentive to actually try? Because as much as I love learning, life exists. Most people do not want to spend all of their time studying or in a classroom, and if you find a loophole for an easy class, you take it. And so with teachers like this, I get the gist. I get that, you probably have your own ideas on education, and you were once a student and you're thinking about how you can make it better for students. But to an extent, when you make learning and education too easy, you don't actually pick up anything. And in this case, if it doesn't matter how hard you try, then why would you try at all? Yeah, there's some people who try just for the sake of they want to do well. But if there's no marker to indicate that you're doing well that's based on your actual work ethic, what reason do you have to work hard? You remove any incentive for actually doing what you came to do, which is learning.
So since I'm not grading them, I'm just giving them A's. Like, how do I know that they're doing anything? And how do I know that they're learning anything? And so I also don't give homework. Surprise, surprise. And I run a discussion style classroom. So my students and I have equal part when it comes to bringing information to the table. We all sit together and share what we're talking about, and they get to use their critical thinking skills to apply the things they've learned in all their other classes.
She didn't answer her own question here. How do I know that they're actually learning? And then she just went on to say we don't do homework, we only do discussions. That doesn't really prove anything, because I've been in plenty of discussions where you just bluster your ass off and still manage to get through because you used enough academic big sounding words to sound like you knew what you did and you read the reading. I'm not going to be like, yes, my 2 months of being a teacher have made me knowledgeable in all things teaching, but with a classroom of like 25 students, I do not remember. I only names I remember are the ones who really, really annoyed me. I can name the students who got on my nerves or the ones who are very, very sweet. The ones who are middle of the road, I do not know them. I know their faces, I don't know their names. And so it's really hard to be like, oh yes, this person discussed in class, and therefore I know that they learned things, when that's not going to be an adequate depiction of knowledge for every student. In the same way that testing is not an adequate depiction of knowledge for every student. I think that not having any markers means that it's impossible to prove that there is improvement. Like, that's the whole thing about learning, is how do you know that you are actually acquiring knowledge? You have to test that knowledge. And discussions can work in that I've had discussion-based tests before, where you're doing a discussion and that is the test, that you have to argue or do a debate, and you have to have background knowledge and studied for it to work. But it sounds to me like there is no marker here for actually showing that you learned anything. And so it's just a class that you can get into and wiggle through because the teacher is decolonizing the classroom, aka I don't understand this idea of decolonization meaning dumbing shit down. Decolonizing means you have to pretend that people who aren't white weren't smart and didn't have tests. I hate to break it to you, but China, Japan, Korea all had like very strict testing systems for governmental jobs. Like, a lot of places had testing that weren't white. Like, you removing testing didn't really decolonize anything. It just made your classrooms stupider and your students less likely to learn.
I just got diagnosed with vaginal stenosis. If you're confused, hi, I'm Zaya. I'm transgender, and like 8 months ago, I got bottom surgery or gender confirmation surgery. So I had a PP and now I have a vagina. And let me just preface this by saying I do not regret getting surgery. I do not regret it.
Pretty much any post of any trans person who's had a bad surgery or bad outcome is prefaced with, I do not regret what I did, or if I regret it, it doesn't affect what other people should do. And it's like this preemptive defensive measure to ensure that they're not outed as an apostle for being unhappy with what they got. And when it comes to surgery, I think it's very important to point out if you were unhappy with your cosmetic surgery. You shouldn't, like, you don't hear the same thing from someone who got a bad nose job saying, I don't regret the nose job now that I can't breathe. Like, you don't hear that from other surgeries, despite them being all cosmetic surgeries.
So I don't want any of y'all conservative ass bitches to twist my words. I do not fucking regret surgery. However, I knew recovery was gonna be hard, but nobody tells you that it could be this fucking hard.
That's because there's a lack of communication in the trans community about what surgery is really like. For example, people like to talk about how getting the double mastectomy is so freeing and they feel really great about it, or how getting the penis surgery, or getting a constructed vagina made them feel so gender affirmed, but they don't talk about the stuff like how you have to dilate for months on end, or how you can grow hair inside of that, or how if you use a colon instead of a penis to make the length, how you might smell like shit for the rest of your life because of that. They don't talk about how for the penis surgery, you're getting a large amount of your forearm skinned, and that's painful surgery to go through. You're not allowed to talk about it because any criticism of these treatments is seen as criticism of the trans ideology. It's a criticism because of the minority stress model, which says that all of your problems will be solved if you just fix the thing that makes you a minority, right? So if you just fix the gender dysphoria, you'll fix everything else. And that's just not true, especially because for many, gender dysphoria is likely not just gender dysphoria, but it's the end result of having anxiety and body issues and PTSD and all these other issues. It's not as simple. It's not one thing. But when you pretend that it's one thing, you end up with uninformed people who really don't know what they're getting into, like this guy. And I do feel really bad for him because you go through a surgery that's supposed to make you feel better about yourself, and you don't get what you want, and you don't think you can really talk openly about it without putting a preface before it every single time saying, look, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that it's bad. Don't use me as an example for why not to go through with this surgery. It just seems like an awful position to be in, and I do feel bad for him. I do.
But yeah, I was diagnosed with vaginal stenosis, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically when scar tissue gets built up inside of the vaginal canal to the point where it's like extremely tight and uncomfortable. And the thing is, for the first year after getting bottom surgery, you have to dilate your vagina religiously because it's a brand new canal that needs to be kept open religiously for the first year. And now that I have this stenosis, I physically cannot dilate. My vagina still has depth, but it's so tight to the point that it could start to close and form pockets that could lead to infection, which means that I have to get another surgery. I basically just have to get the surgery all over again and get my vagina replaced. And like, it's just so fucking annoying. And it just sucks because my vagina has made me so happy, happier than I've ever been. I finally feel comfortable in my body. It's so pretty on the outside. It's just the inside of it that's all fucked up. And now I have to get an emergency revision surgery. I'm still waiting on the date. Hopefully it's soon. Yeah, I just wanted to come on here and be open and honest because I hope this shows you guys that being transgender, I would never choose this lifestyle. I did not choose to struggle like this. All of the struggles that I've been through and I'm still going through are just to feel comfortable with my fucking self, to feel comfortable in my fucking body. And it's so hard. It's so fucking hard. But I would do this shit all over again if I had to. I would do it all over again.
So often they don't mention how hard it is to get these surgeries to go through well. They don't mention that. I mean, if you but if you did look through like the surgery outcomes for gender reassignment surgery, for bottom surgery, you'll find that they don't really look like genitals from, a woman or a man. They don't look right. They're imperfect replications. And then, of course, because this is a relatively new surgery, and especially the phalloplasties, the penis surgeries for trans men, those particularly don't have a good rate of success because even at their best, it's just a bit of flesh that hangs there. It's never going to work like a real penis. It's never going to feel like that. And the same thing goes for having a vagina made. It's not a vagina, it's just a hole. A vagina does more than just is penetrated, and these surgeries just make it down to just sex. Your organ is just for sex, it's nothing else. The vagina is not just the hole to fuck. The vagina is a part of the body, okay, the female body, and it is not just there for sex. In addition, I think, I really do feel bad for him because this is obviously difficult and he was hoping for a different outcome. But the idea that I don't think this is, he could have tried therapy. I just feel like when you're presenting the only solution to gender dysphoria as being surgery, then you have people who never consider therapy or never consider other ways to accept themselves, and you're going through an unnecessary surgery. And surgery is not a simple thing. Surgery does have benefits. It does have health detriments, and if you don't need to have a surgery, then you shouldn't have one. Even cosmetic surgeries offer a danger. BBLs are one of the most deadly surgeries that you can get for plastic surgery. And when it comes to gender reassignment surgeries, I mean, at least the death rates aren't as high, but Lord, there are so many high complications. And the fact that it's presented as being the only option. Gender dysphoria is not a choice. Identifying as trans and getting surgery is. The fact that no one is ever considering going through non-surgical treatments is a part of the culture which is presenting being trans as surgery. And that's something that really needs to change. Doctors, too, need to present, hey, we need to explore other options before we jump to surgery and hormones. Because even if people say they accept the risks, you can't expect people who are mentally ill to accurately read and understand and be okay with accepting these risks, especially when it's young people. If you gave me the option to go through certain choices when I was 16, if you said, hey, do you want to go ahead and take a suicide pill at 16, I probably would have said yes because I was 16 and mentally ill. You don't trust people who are mentally ill to make these kind of decisions, especially when there are other options to explore that aren't surgical. You don't offer this as the first option. Anyhow, as you can see through the captions by Libs of Tik Tok, none of these are disinformation, and none of them are even really adding much opinion to these videos. They're just saying, here is the video that they are saying, and here is what is happening in the video, and here's the video, go watch it. They're not disinforming anyone. I don't think they're anti-LGBT, they're just anti-extremity, anti-extreme leftism. And I mean, yes, they do have conservative talking points, and they do lean right, but I do think people have kind of people like to lump us all together into one big lump sum. I've said this before, but they like to put together everyone who disagrees with trans or left-wing stuff and say, yep, you are all the same enemy and you're all horrible people who believe in these things. And I think that it's a bit more nuanced than that. I do think that Libs of Tik Tok is a pretty great resource for finding TikToks like these, especially because I don't like going on TikTok. But also because they're presenting TikToks as they are. These are not made up. These are not parodies. These are people who are literally saying these things, and they mean it. And here you are, and here you get to judge them for it. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to be having an interview with someone soon, and we'll be discussing a bit more the concept of the right of basically lining ourselves with conservatives because of the difficulty in having radical feminist points actually listened to. It's difficult, especially when people seem to tie in radical feminism to just being about trans stuff. And I'll even admit that a lot of my talking points are about trans stuff, but I do try to diversify, and I find the topic to be just really interesting in general because of how it's decimated the community, because of how it affects me personally. Some people come at it from a place of hate, some people come at it from a place of, hey, you messed up the community that I was expecting to have, and it's not here anymore, and I'm upset, and I'm also fearful because all of my friends are taking hormones and being suicidal. And I think there's a nuance to discussing these topics that not everyone is able to have. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave them down below. I do have a Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee thing running now. I'm going to be out of Cambodia soon, probably before this video is posted, but I'm still going to be poor as fuck for quite a while. So if you have any money to spare, I really do appreciate it. There are some cool perks like getting to vote on video topics or getting to suggest them yourselves. Eventually, I'm hoping to get some stickers or something printed, and that'd probably be more of a charity item, to be honest, because I would love to donate to the shelter I used to work at now that I no longer work there. But yeah, if you guys are interested, I'll have it linked in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.